Oh hey, didn't see you there. You see, lately I've been accused of having an anime arena fighter addiction, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I've actually played a lot less than you'd think. That's an exception. I played those ironically. I was holding those for a friend. The anime arena fighter, the source of many groans from the anime community, only being muted by the groans from people who heard about CGI announcements and seasons split across different cores. We've been over the broad definition before, but I'll go over again briefly. Anime arena fighters are fighting games that have anime characters fighting in an arena. It normally feels like a more simple fighting game that takes place in a large stage where special attacks are a button press away instead of a combo, put on the map by Budokai Tenkaichi. I mean, technically you could say Dragon Ball Z The Legend was an earlier example, or you could go even further, but let's just roll with that one for now. It isn't the easiest to describe an anime arena fighter, but you know it when you see it. There's a focus on how movement works. You aren't locked into a 2D view or a 3D view facing each other. The best way to describe it are you and your opponent are in a stage duking it out. This is mostly popular with anime properties, starting with the before mentioned Dragon Ball, used to emulate whatever is going on here, but I would say it took the most off with Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm in 2008. I always said 2008 was the year of recessions in Naruto for a reason. If you saw the last time I went over this topic, you would know I really consider Storm to have laid down a lot of groundwork that we see in arena fighters today. While I also think that a lot of games have kind of found their own way of doing things, it's hard to deny that there's a bit of a formula with a few cinematic moves and a transformation, and admittedly it just works perfectly for every, you know, anime. But it's true these games can stray from the Storm formula, so let's check out more games and see how they fare. Just a note before I begin. When I rank these games, they do not at all reflect the opinion I have over the property they are from. I am basing these all off the same metrics of how much do I enjoy this as a fan and how overall fun it is. I don't care how much I like a property. If the game is boring, then I don't like it. And if the game is fun but feels hollow, I don't feel like as a fan I've gotten service. No, not that kind of fan service. We will also be continuing the same rankings from last time to grow the list. Let's start with My Hero One's Justice 2 is a genuine big step from the first game, to a point where I would say this is what the first game probably should have been. Just like how Xenoverse 1 was rough around the edges, but it really hits its stride with Xenoverse 2. My Hero Academia One's Justice did the same thing. While I wouldn't say the gameplay feels like how I would imagine a My Hero Academia game to play, with just how much time you can spend in the air, I had a lot more fun with this game than I honestly expected. Landing hits and combos are so satisfying, and the special moves are all diverse enough to make you feel like you can get creative with how you use them. Now, I don't know if I am just bad at the game, but a lot of these characters feel pretty samey. Deku is the same as Deku, who plays a lot like Deku. I think where the game falls off pretty hard though is the story mode. It's just a pretty low quality version of the anime story of Season 4. I will always appreciate when there's a boss fight that are more than just standard fights you can recreate in a versus mode, but there's only one at the end of the game, and a lot of the events in the story just feel so forced. Like, you can tell they didn't have the easiest time figuring out how to turn this into a game story, and the screenshots from the anime just feel like a lazy way to do a lot of the cutscenes. I will say though, the game does have a decent amount of fan service. In the, ooh, cool, characters are talking kind of way, and not the, I'm really uncomfortable kind of way. Focusing on the first kind, based on the team you pick, you could get a special team intro where you see the characters familiar with each other interacting. I wish there were more of them, but I really do like the ones that are here. Makes you feel like, yeah, this is a team fight. And I am a total sucker for that kind of stuff. And when playing, I noticed when characters would fight each other, their dialogue would sometimes be unique for their opponent. Like when playing as Ochako, the girl with the gravity quirk, an enemy might talk about, well, the gravity of the situation. There's also the fashion side of things where you can dress up the characters in different outfits. I will give you 3 different guesses on what I am brutally indifferent towards. I think it's cool they have it, but when I'm playing a game with established characters with iconic looks or specific designs, I kind of like to keep those designs original. I don't know, just a personal thing, so I won't cry about it too much. Overall, I would place One's Justice 2 in between Kill la Kill and One Punch Man. JoJo no Kimiou Bouken, Eyes of Heaven. Your next line's gonna be... You don't talk much, that's my guess. Never before have I seen an anime game that is so for the fans. Like, there are multiple locations from the series, 53 characters across the 8 parts of the series that were out at the time of this game coming out. Each have different fighting styles based on the power system they had in their series, which includes Hamon Stands being a vampire, Growing up in a high crime rate area, science, and stuff for each of the Pillar Men all have their own mechanics and matchup results, like how vampires will recharge from damage unless hit with a Hamon attack, which has sunlight capabilities. What the hell are the words I'm saying? There's also so much fan service, like the character pics they chose. If you aren't familiar with JoJo, oh my god, this is only the second time I've ever talked about it here, huh? But there are a bunch of different parts of JoJo that go through the timeline and follow a different protagonist through different plots. The only consistent is that there are a member of the Joestar bloodline, so this game is pretty much a crossover game of its own series, even in the plot. But first I want to talk about the character choices, and oh my god, did they go hard! I will say my one complaint is I think they added a bit too many Part 3 characters in comparison of other parts that have just as many other combatants, but oh well, crossover game appeals to the most popular part in it, how will I ever cope? Also, thanks to JoJo Part 3, I can play as a Boston Terrier in a fighting game. That's been on my bucket list for years. I have specific goals. The story is game original, and while it runs the way you'd expect, it's still really enjoyable, and I had a hard time putting it down. And it's also just a lot of fun seeing these characters from different parts interact. Like yeah, we know how Jotaro and Josuke act, but what about Part 3 Jotaro? Most characters you'd expect to interact at some way in some point in the game interact, and it's just pure fan service, and I love it. But what I don't love as much is the gameplay. Mostly because I got excited and tried a JoJo pose to really represent that. Oh, I can't tell if that was my spine or leg. It was actually my spleen. Let me start this off by saying that this is probably the best format to do an arena fighter of JoJo characters and have them be somewhat like their animated or manga counterparts. There's a huge emphasis on the whole arena part of the arena fighter, where your position is important to a lot of the combat, and the environment could have different uses for different characters. And Eyes of Heaven managed to fit a lot of JoJo style in it. If I had to compare it to any specific arena fighter, I would say J-Stars. It feels like it's going for a more strategic angle as opposed to most other arena fighters that have a main focus on skill and reaction speeds. And I feel like this is shown most in the characters who have different abilities and skills that reflect who they are the best. And all in all, I enjoy this game, but I would go beyond calling this an anime game and call it more of a game for manga fans. If you like JoJo, the game's more than worth the spin, however the gameplay wasn't completely for me. Regardless, I'll put it above the Kill la Kill game.
Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles.
Wait, it's called Demon Slayer, not Demon Lair? I mean, you know, I was wondering why I got an 18+ warning on a game called Demon Lair. I thought it was just a baking anime thing. Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles is a game that's quality is best shown just by showing the opening credits. Yup, CyberConnect 2 Arena Fighter. If you have messed with an anime game in the past few years that you walk away thinking, oh damn, that was actually really good, chances are CC2 had something to do with it. Yeah, that even includes the before mentioned JoJo game, so the second the people behind Ninja Storm series said they were making a Demon Slayer game, I already knew what we were in store for. A game about Demon Slayer, apparently. Hinokami Chronicles is an incredibly polished, but in the nicest way possible, soulless game. This game is most like Ninja Storm out of all the previous games I've mentioned, and for very good reasons. The gameplay is very similar, with key differences being the use of special attacks. Instead of a cinematic that plays and does a decent bit of damage, there are more utilization for different ways to use combos. I do think it's a better use of the power system of Demon Slayer, where each character has multiple techniques with no specific iconic move, and it really helps differentiate itself from not only Ninja Storm but most other arena fighters. And that's not to forget the fantastic retelling of Demon Slayer Season 1 in the Mugen Train. You know, if you're a member of the whole anti-watching community. You know, I joined that group one time, and now I'm not allowed to wear a clock on my wrist. I really misunderstood what they were going for. Like I mentioned, the game follows the story equivalent of 24 episodes in a movie. The story is one of the best when it comes to anime games. Each major enemy has a boss fight process where there are different moves to avoid and different mechanics to keep in mind. It helps each fight stand out amazingly well while still fitting with how a Demon Slayer fight would go. Not ignoring the set pieces that the game has, which makes the story of the anime feel a lot more like it's for a video game. And that's not all, we also get the slower moments, and I mean, there is even a minigame based on training. That's how I learned calculus. I mean, I failed the exam, but I have a really good sense of rhythm now. The game goes from the start of the story to the end of the Mugen Train arc, which is what the newest content was in the anime at the time of release. And I also think that this is the game's biggest fault. It didn't want to step past the anime whatsoever, which greatly limited what they could do with the story, what they could do with the characters' fan service, anything like that. Yeah, Entertainment District arc characters are a part of DLC, but they missed a chance to put that into the core of the DNA of the game. It's just hard to put a lot of soul and fan service and all that good stuff into a game when the materials covered is so small, at least compared to the rest of the series. And this is hesitation that isn't shown too often. Most games are willing to at least tease future stuff, and I know there are probably some good reasons why Hinokami Chronicles didn't blow the bank to represent as much as they could, but it just leaves a great game with great gameplay, and a very well told story. Even turns smaller details of the series into gameplay mechanics to fit the medium better, feeling soulless. I said it different times before, but it feels like this was the earliest this game could have been made to not go past the anime, and it does suffer a bit for it. That doesn't change any of the positives at all, but it is still a flaw, and it's gonna go just below Eyes of Heaven because of it. I would just rather have a game full of heart. I still don't dislike anime arena fighters as much as people normally do. I mean, would a lot of these games be better in different genres? Yeah, sure, but they're fine. Speaking of fine, you'll never guess what they give you for an unlawful possession of anime arena fighters. I filmed that before my court date. You know, I thought I was going to be able to set up a really good pun, but I guess it wasn't fine.